Alright, so here we have the Pulse Pro monitor. It is the upgraded version from the Pulse 1, and I'm going to give you the review. I already have one grow in the books, so this is a lot from experience and how my first grow with the monitor actually went. So I'm going to go over everything that I experienced, give you guys some details, and then you can maybe make a decision on if you want to spend the $500 on this machine or not. And I'll tell you personally if I think it's worth it or not. So it did come in this simple little box here. Honestly, when I first opened it, I thought it was missing something, but just the monitor, little piece to hang it. The charger goes back in here, and yeah, some very brief instructions that honestly they weren't that helpful, but I didn't have a problem setting up the machine. Um, so yeah, let's jump into how I got it. I found it online. I was looking over a lot of products. It seemed like the best one I could come across was very expensive. It was during pre-order, so I didn't see any reviews on it. So I had to kind of go off of what the business was saying and some of the old reviews of their first monitor, which seemed to be good. So I went ahead and grabbed it during pre-order. Did take about 30 days, maybe a little bit longer to get it, but that was all very clear. They didn't promise that it would be there super fast. It was a pre-order, so I did have to message them to see just where it was, but no unfulfilled promises on that end. So I'm not sure if they're still in pre-order or production yet, but my experience with that wasn't frustrating. A lot of times you pre-order something, they say it'll be there in a certain time. It doesn't arrive. That wasn't the case here. So um, let's start with the pros because there were a lot of pros overall. I think it was a positive experience with the monitor. First, the app. The app is super convenient. I installed it on both my phone and my phone, which I'll show you here. Uh, Here, Pulse app. If I get that in close enough with the one notification right there. The Pulse app is send you notifications, and I think that's the number one uh, feature the the monitor. It's connects through Wi-Fi, and it sends you notifications uh, when something changes in your room. So it's super convenient. If your grow room is across the house or like mine in a detached garage, you don't want to keep running in and out there to see kind of what's going on. You have your app at your hand and you can look at it at any time. So it was super convenient. And one of the main reasons I the uh, went with it. Now, what it monitors in real time is the light, the relative humidity, CO2, vapor pressure deficit, and dew point. And when I say it's constantly monitoring that, this isn't like on a minute by minute basis. It's really constant monitoring. If you refresh it, you'll get new CO2 readings that fluctuate a little bit, and it's pulling that data. So there's real time monitoring, and it keeps you up to date on exactly what's going on, and your graphs are really precise. So I like that. It wasn't like you're getting a reading every 5 minutes or every 15 minutes. You're actually getting, as it changes. I'm not sure how, if they have a refresh rate or if it really is real time monitoring, but I found it to update very often. Uh, on a 10 seconds, like literally almost 10 seconds or less. I'm not sure if I could find that information and confirm it anywhere, but it's real time monitoring. Uh, One of the cool things is that when you look at your graphs, and there's point two, the averages, uh, it tells you over a week span or over an hour span or over a 3 week span, whatever you highlight, your average temperature, your average uh, CO2 levels, your average relative humidity. This is cool because you can also see the averages during the day and during the night. So uh, you're running light for a certain period of time. You want to know how what's your average CO2 levels when the lights are on and the plants are taking CO2. You can see that, and you can see that over a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or even just 12 hours, where those levels are. So those averages are really helpful in seeing just how uh, you might have fluctuations day to day, but how good are you at hitting your goals of those numbers over a certain period of time or during the entire grow. That was one tool that I used a lot, especially if you change something. So if you add CO2 like I did, then you may be able to pull up the time after you added the CO2 to see the average and how those averages have changed, to see if the changes that you're making in your grow room are actually panning out to real results. Um, Next thing is the notifications. They're customizable. So if you want to be notified when your temperature hits 90 or 85 or 80, you can set that range. When it goes above that or below that, you set your highs and your lows, and you're notified when you want to be notified. So that feature is pretty cool because you get to customize exactly exactly what your grow room kind of wants, or what your plants uh, are required to have in their environment. So that's cool. Uh, let's jump over to some of the cons. Uh, the Wi-Fi connection. I told you I was in a detached garage. I had Wi-Fi issues every now and then where it would disconnect. It was great that it would tell me that your pulse is disconnected, but every once in a while it would disconnect, and I would have to go out and kind of move the pulse around and make sure it was connected, and continuing to monitor. That may not be specifically on the pulse. I have really good Wi-Fi actually. So um, that's not completely on the pulse. It was just something that I observed. If your Wi-Fi isn't great and you're in some type of detached garage, I got a brick house that the signal's going through. It's inside of a grow tent, things like that. That diminish the signal. You may want to consider getting a Wi-Fi extender in to make sure the signal is a little bit more sturdy. Something I'm gonna do. Um, CO2. This for more serious growers. The CO2 monitor is one of the main reasons I bought the monitor, and then um, I'm moving on to a CO2 regulator. So there's a little bit of redundancy there. So if you already have uh, you're giving your plants more CO2, you're supplementing the CO2 in your grow room or your grow tent or whatever. There is a little bit of redundancy. So the Pulse Pro may not be the one to go with if you're thinking about supplementing that CO2, because when the CO2 levels hit a certain level, you want your tank to go off. So you'll have to have another CO2 monitor that actually controls that CO2 tank. So having that monitoring CO2 levels and this monitoring CO2 levels is a little bit redundant. Uh, so if you plan on doing that, maybe go with the volume one of the Pulse. Uh, so uh, What they don't tell you, and this is one of my main cons here, is the paid features. So there's some paid features in the Pulse, and when I first bought it, I thought everything kind of would just be a part of the $500 that I paid for it. But there are some limitations to what you can do inside the app unless you pay a monthly subscription of $20 per month. So if you want multiple users, there's a sign in. Of course, you sign in to your interface, which saves all your settings. But if you don't want to share that with somebody, maybe you have an employee, maybe you have a relative that's monitoring it with you. But if you don't want to share your login information and password, you need multiple users in order to put one Pulse into multiple profiles. I believe you need to upgrade your account. In order for it to get SMS, text message notifications, you need a pro account. If you're on a phone, the push notifications are a lot like text to me, so it's not a big deal. But if you want it, you know, if you want that SMS notification, you do have to pay. You have to also pay to export your data. So if you want that data in a spreadsheet of some sort, then you have to pay to export the data off of the Pulse Pro app. If you want advanced user permissions, if you want to, tell the system who can actually edit those notification points, the highs, the lows, when you get notifications, then you need the paid version, two-tier alerts and API access. Not exactly sure what those are, but they're paid as well. So some of those features exist, some of them don't exist yet. They're coming soon. I'm just kind of reading those off. But I didn't know that at first. I thought if I buy it, I'll get every feature that they talked about. But there is I should have known, a paid feature. So that kind of caught me by surprise. And then a pro but a con. I kind of didn't talk about this in the pros, but they do have a calendar where you can put in text on each day, and all your alerts through that day, from that day, if you had a high temperature alarm or something, they log those on the calendar, so you could quickly go and see what alerts you had throughout the day on that calendar, and then you can add your own as well. So if you defoliated your grow that day, you can put that in the calendar. It's easy, and we use it a lot to monitor when we changed the water, when we defoliated, when we added something new to the tent. A lot of times those are easy to forget if you don't write them down. So putting them in the Pulse app under the calendar was very helpful. But what they don't allow, and there's the con, is reoccurring events. So if you wanted to defoliate every 3 weeks or every 4 weeks, or if there was something you want to do every month, there wasn't a feature where you can put repeat every month. So that was something you have to go in and go to the specific date you want to do it and do that over and over again. Just takes a little bit of convenience out. And I did write Pulse about that and tell them that that was something that they can add to their a feature they can add. But overall, I definitely would say it was worth it. Our grow came out really good. I spent a lot less time going out to the tent, and I knew exactly why I was going out there if I did have to go out there. Had issues with the humidity going up. My dehumidifier filled up once, even though it was draining, and there was a problem with it. It started filling up. It stopped dehumidifying. I got a alarm on the app, and I was able to go out there, look directly at the dehumidifier, diagnose it, and get it back running. I had a problem where my timers, I had lights on different timers. The timer for one would come on 40 minutes after the other, so my lights weren't coming on simultaneously. That was reflected in the light graph of the pulse, so I knew that my lights were a little bit off, and to adjust that. What other issues did I have? My CO2. There was a time where we had to close up kind of make it a closed environment because it was hard to control the temperature because it was getting cold that night. And we seen that when we have the tent completely closed, our CO2 levels were extremely low, down in the 100s. So we realized that wasn't a good idea. We have to, run ventilation during the day. So I was able to put one of my fans on timer to come on with the lights and, keep those CO2 levels at least around ambient levels. So again, specifically knowing what you have to address when you're going out to your tent is key. And this helped me know exactly what to do, or if I just needed to leave it alone and let it do its thing. So overall, very helpful tool. I would say definitely worth the investment, especially if you're kind of a intermediate grower, a newer to intermediate grower. It's definitely worth it. If you're on the more serious end, there might be a lot of redundancy in what this is monitoring versus what your other equipment may monitor as well. So, like I said, I'm definitely going to use it and continue to use it. But if you have any questions, leave them down in the comments, and I'll see you guys again sometime. Peace.